S.Y.D, Share Your Dreams is where I interview business owners and investors who are living in their dreams, doing what they love to do, day in and day out. Please join me to get an insight on their passion. Stay tuned. Good morning, Adele.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for coming down
and
being part of Share Your Dreams. This is like a video interview that I do. Share Your Dreams is about sharing your passion and your vision, business-wise, what you do day in and day out. And I interview business owners and investors as well. So in this case, you do have your own business. You're a financial planner, successful financial planner. I'm also a big fan of you. I follow you on Instagram and Facebook and things like that. I really love your content and what you share out there. So it's a pleasure having you here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's kick it off. How did you get into financial planning?
Well, by accident. So I was actually at uni and I was doing a Bachelor of Commerce, doing accounting. And so I remember my first tutorial in accounting, and I remember putting my hand up after the tute and saying, "Excuse me, is the rest of accounting like this?" And them saying yes. And I'm like, well, I'm in the wrong thing. I can't be doing this. So I just thought, you know what? All my friends are getting accounting jobs. I'll get a job in an office somewhere. I just want some sort of office experience. So I went and got a job as a personal assistant to a financial advisor. And so I still did uni, I still finished the degree, but I could hear his conversations. It was an open plan office and he had just a little wall up, and I could hear his conversations with the clients. And that's when I realised that financial planning was much more people, and then money came later. And I also love that it was future focused. You were talking about creating the future. And so whereas the accounting and the accounting degree that I have, it was very much focused on what has happened and which you can't change. And so I loved that financial planning was something that was, future focused, something that, you could really make a difference. And I could hear the conversations it was having. And so, by accident, I just wanted a job in an office so I could get some sort of experience. Knew I definitely didn't want to do accounting, but it was a good degree to have. Understanding the tax and all those fundamentals was definitely a good degree to have, and I don't regret having it. But definitely it was always by accident, just happened to get a job. Isn't that how most people do, just by accident?
No, that's it. Now, in regards to your business, what was your experience like starting it up?
So I've had a very interesting business evolution. So I first started when I was still at uni, and I stayed at that place for 11 years. So as an employee, I started as an assistant to a financial advisor, and then I became a paraplanner, and then I became an advisor, and then I became an owner there. So I was there for 11 years. And when I became a partner in that business, and then I really wanted to work, and that was with retirees. So we're working with older clients. And what I found when I first did that was people would say to me, "I wish I saw you years ago. Why didn't I see you years ago?" And now at retirement, they didn't have, the money that they wanted or the health to do what they wanted. And I could hear the regret that they had. And so I knew I wanted to work with younger clients. So I exited that retiree business and I started from scratch with no clients around 6 years ago. I wanted to work with younger clients where I still had time to make a difference. And so that's how I started the business. It came out of a need for working with older people and working with retirees and them having that regret and me feeling frustrated because I couldn't make a difference then. At that stage, it was too late for me to make a difference. And so I knew if I wanted to help people, I needed to work with people much, much earlier. So that's why I now specialise in helping people in their 20s, 30s and 40s.
Okay, that was my next question. So a lot of your clients now are like in early 20s?
Yeah, I would say the large majority are in their 30s. I definitely have some clients in their 20s. The youngest client that I worked with was 20 and they wanted to buy their first house. And this is what I love about my job. So those guys first come to us, had some credit card debt. So we needed to make sure we got rid of that first before we then saved for the house deposit. And then they also wanted to throw in a wedding as well. So help them get that balance right. And then now their clients, 5, 6 years later, we're now planning for children. And so, often they are, in that young, but the large majority are in their 30s. They're in their 30s, they're earning good money, they're not sure where it's going, they feel like they should be doing better than what they are, or they've got some decisions they need to make. Like, can I afford to work part-time while my kids are little? Can I afford to start my own business? They're really wanting to have, that great life, and they really need to understand their finances and their money to be able to do that. So the large majority of my clients are in their 30s.
Yeah. Now that's the same with me as well. Like I remember in my early 20s, I was working full-time, working for someone, and I found that, when you progress in your career, your income increases, but also your responsibilities and bills increase as well. And some things you don't take into consideration or take account.
Yeah. I call that lifestyle creep.
Yeah.
It's very easy to go from passion pull up to moe, to go to jump up. So lifestyle creep can definitely happen. Yeah. And that's why, I always say probably the biggest mistake that people make is if I can earn more income, then I'll be able to save. And that there is just not that connection between the two. So for me, that's probably the biggest financial planning mistake that I see people make is thinking more income will mean more money. Yeah. And that's not necessarily the case at all.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now, in regards to your business, in the early stages, did you come across any obstacles? And if you did, how were you able to overcome it?
Yeah, I think the obstacle I had was I wanted to really be an advisor that didn't take commission. Yeah. I didn't know, I wanted to charge a fee. I wanted the clients to pay for that fee. I didn't know anybody else was doing that. And I wanted to do that because I didn't want to be conflicted. If I recommended something, I wanted to really, that to stand by itself. So I knew I was always going to do the right thing, but I also wanted to be seen to be doing the right thing as well. So it was important to me from the beginning to charge fee for service. Yes. I didn't know anybody else that was doing that at the time. In fact, the coaching that I got at the time told me not to do that. They told me they would go broke if I went fee for service. Now, fast forward 6 years, they've now banning commission and looking to, now the industry is sort of catching up. So I could see and knew where I wanted to go, but I didn't know anyone else that was doing that. And so I sort of was, that courageous one that went first. But for me, that was probably the biggest challenge is you're getting advice from other people that had successful businesses. And so, and their businesses were successful, but they were taking commission and they were trying to help and mentor me as a younger advisor, telling me you have to take commission, otherwise you're not going to be here. Yeah. And so that was probably one of the biggest challenges early on is trying to make sure I listened to the right people. Yeah. So I wanted to listen to the right people, but I also had to trust my gut and my intuition as well. So trying to get that balance right between the two was probably the biggest challenge early on. And I think just then really going, okay, well, I can take the advice, but ultimately it's my business, it's my call. And, I went with my gut and I'm obviously so glad that I did.
Yeah, no, it's so good. Well, good on you for that. It's excellent. And it's good. Well, I guess you've got faith in yourself. You believe in yourself, and changes can always be for the better.
Yeah, I mean that's the other challenge is that sometimes people were coming to me in those early days with credit card debt, and so they couldn't pay for the fee, and so that was another challenge as well because how could they pay for advice but have a credit card debt, and so I just always thought I know I can help these people when they're in dire credit card debt. No, but we're talking about 5, 10. I've got one at the moment. Within the next year or two, we would have paid off 100 grand worth of debt over the last couple of years, the large majority of that credit card debt. So it is possible. So what I usually do is get them set up, give them a month reprieve with the fee, give them some breathing space, make some changes, and then start the fee after that. Or offer payment plans to let them split it out. There's always a way. Every time I come up with a challenge when I was early in business, I always knew that there was a way to overcome it. I just had to keep thinking about it. Yeah. And I think that's the thing that I've also been lucky enough is I think of what other businesses do. So, often financial advice charges a big fee up front. Well, clients don't necessarily, especially younger clients, don't necessarily have money to pay for it up front. Yeah. So I thought, well, what do other businesses do? What do other places do? They offer payment plans. They let you split the payment over 6, 12 months to make it easier. Yeah. And so that was just some of the things that I did with my clients to make it easier for them to be able to get help.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Now, you deal with many different clients, as you said, from 20 onwards. Yeah. What is a common bad habit that you see in your clients, like financially?
Yeah, I guess the bad habit is just not knowing where their money goes, and so not being conscious of what they're spending. Yeah. And I give an example of some of my clients in Sydney. Their Uber bill for the quarter was 5 or 6 grand, and they're like, no. Yeah. And because what do we do is we basically treat a household like a business. So we track all their expenses just like a business, would. And so we're able to say, if this keeps going, that's $20,000 a year you're going to spend on Uber. And that's not our call to make a decision. It's their call. And she just wasn't aware of it. And that 20 grand, she could have had several trips to Hawaii and overseas. It's just she got in the habit and it feels like you're not paying, it feels like it's free. And so I think just not being conscious of where their money's going and making sure it goes to somewhere that's important. So I always say having a spending plan or a budget, it's not about not spending money, it's about making sure it goes to where it's important. And so many people resist a budget, resist it because they think it means that they can't spend money, but it actually means that it's just going to where it's important. And in that particular example, she actually that wasn't important to her, that it was going to there. And so that's a classic one. Once they become conscious of their spending and where it's going, that can free up 5, 10, 20 grand a year without them feeling like they've missed out on anything.
Yeah. No, definitely. There's a thing I heard on the radio yesterday. I think they were talking about people registering for stuff online.
Yeah,
Subscriptions, and then you don't realize, or maybe you forget.
Oh, it's so
that you
true.
have that, and it's just coming out of your
So especially
account
iTunes, it's so tricky. You sign up for those ones that are 7 days, a free trial for 7 days, and then you forget it. I've been guilty of it myself. So that's an exercise we do with our clients. We go through subscriptions. 3 things I get them to do is, firstly, do you need it? And if you do need it, is there a cheaper alternative out there? Or can you cancel it altogether? So I always think, yes, so definitely subscriptions is one that can sneak up. I've just done that exercise in my business. I practice what I preach. I've just done it in my business. I've just saved $5,000 by going through and cancelling some of the subscriptions I wasn't using. And so, yeah, definitely subscriptions. Anything that's that monthly recurring can creep up on you. Gym memberships are classic. Foxtel. So Foxtel for me, when I did this a couple of years ago, sort of before Netflix took off, I realised that over the years I'd spent $14,000 on Foxtel.
Oh wow!
And when I started to realise that, I was like, I don't really like keeping up with the Kardashians. $14,000 worth. Which is the trash TV I was watching. But so then that made me go, well, what else is there out there? Then I could, Netflix is the other thing. So cancel that, then got Netflix. So I think, definitely being conscious of things like your subscriptions and checking that every month. And that's definitely something we do with our clients to make sure that they're getting, value from them, or is there another alternative that they can use instead?
Oh, excellent tip. Now, for the viewers out there, for the people that are looking at getting assistance or guidance using a financial planner, do you have any tips or advice on what they should be looking out for?
Yeah, so I would definitely say make sure you check their qualifications. So for me, I'm a certified financial planner, a CFP. I also have a Bachelor of Commerce with a major in accounting and finance. So I would check their qualifications.
Yes.
So that's a decade of study.
Yeah.
All advisors don't have to have that. They are now bringing it in, so new advisors coming in do, and older advisors will have to get degrees. So that was something that's coming in over the next couple of years. So that they've definitely saw a need for advisors to have education and to bring it into that profession. So I would say, what education standards have they got? That's definitely one. So CFP is the highest designation you can have as a financial advisor. It's internationally recognised. So I'd be looking for that as sort of that mark of excellence as well. I would be also looking for how long have they been around for, and what do their typical clients look like. So if I have someone come to me for retirement, I actually don't work with them. I have a specialty in a niche. I don't try and be, expert at everything. And so someone that has a niche tells me that they're a specialist in that. They're not just willing to work with anyone. So I think a niche is also important. And then I think Googling their name, making sure they're a member of an association as well. So the Financial Planning the Association is what I'm a member of, the FPA, because that holds them to a much higher standard. And then, as I said, Googling as well, like what scams could come up on that particular person.
Google reviews.
Yeah, reviews, their Facebook reviews, all that sort of stuff will go into it. So yeah, that would be the main criteria that I would use. But then also just going with your, with your gut feel. Do you have a connection with this person? Financial planning is something that, almost what we do is almost life coaching with money, because we really get quite personal, and so you have to make sure you like that person. So I would say, and I know for me, I'm not a financial advisor that would be great for everyone. I talk really quick, so that doesn't necessarily mean I'm great for everyone. So I think just having that, do I feel comfortable with this person, is someone that I could trust, and going with your gut feeling on the person as well.
Yeah, I'm the same as well with my business. It's good to always have that first contact and get a feel, as you said, get that gut feeling, because it's a long term. Like with me, property management, I deal with people's investment property, so it's not just a service from A to B and then see you later. It's a long term. It's a long-term thing, and it's good to that we can work with our clients and work towards their. I
would say, would I have goals. A beer or a glass of wine with this person?
Yeah.
And if I can't say I'd have a beer or a glass of wine with that person, we're probably not good fit to work together.
What is your why and purpose for what you do day in, day out?
For me, it was really wanting to be able to make a difference. And so when I worked with my older clients and the retirees, when I would hear them say, like over and over, I wish we saw you years ago. I saw that they now had health problems and they missed out on doing all that stuff along the way. I didn't want people to have to live for retirement. I don't want them to have to live and work for 40, 50 years before they have enjoyment. And that's what I was seeing. People were waiting until retirement to do the big trips, to do all that stuff, and then their health wasn't there. And so I really saw, working with retirees for nearly a decade, I saw a lot of regret. And so I wanted to work with people so they could not have to wait to retirement to do all the things that they love. And so, for me, helping clients, plan their weddings and have amazing holidays overseas and go around Australia for 12 months while the kids are little and have all those experiences, that is why I do it. It feels like when a client achieves a goal, we all celebrate in our team because it feels like we've done it, because we've helped them. And so, I feel very blessed that we get to play such a role in people's lives and to help them, yes, with their money, but money by itself is meaningless. So we actually get to help them to do some amazing things with it. So people have started their own businesses. I've had 3 clients over the last year or 2 that have started their own businesses since working with us. That's give them ultimate flexibility so they can stay at home or with their kids while their kids are little. They don't have to, they can work from home. So to being able to do that, to helping people, manage the cash flow and have investment properties. So for several clients with investment properties that have now been able to go overseas and have amazing holidays because they've got investments being built. So for me it's really been that's why I do what I do, because when they achieve their goals it feels like we have, and because I don't want them to get to 60, 65 and have that regret like I used to see when I worked with retirees.
No, it's a good feeling when you know that you've put your all into it and you've helped them, you've guided them, and then they achieve their goals, and then like I said, you've
especially first home buyers. I love it. We work virtually, so I work with clients all over Australia. So I can't get to all my first home buyers' houses, but when they do, when it's someone local within driving distance and they've gotten their first home, I love going and cracking a bowl of champagne with them and celebrating because it definitely, that feeling of buying that first home, I think nothing, apart from having a child, nothing really beats that feeling. And so that sense of accomplishment, that sense of it's ours, that no one can take it. So that, has been, amazing to be part of first home buyers as well.
Excellent. Now with yourself and your business, where do you see it in the next 5 years?
So I'm very future focused. I'm always thinking ahead.
Obviously.
So I've got so many ideas. One of the things I really want to be able to do is, so I've got another advisor at the moment that works with us. I want to have several coaches that have different specialties. So I want to have a coach that specializes with single clients. I want to have someone that specializes with families, someone that specializes in that business coaching as well, in the understand their business numbers. So I can see specialist coaches, really niched, working all over Australia with people. In the savings space, I can actually see that being something. So we've got an online savings program, sort of like Michelle Bridges has done, but in the finance space. So My Money Buddy lets people, set up their own savings plan and track towards it. I can see that being something that's international because savings and that behavioural finance that we do in that space is something that can be international. So I see My Money Buddy being global. I see us having specialist coaches, and I see us having, especially now I've become a mum and I'm thinking more about children and what we teach our children around money. I can see us having an element that's a kids education as well. So for us, I can see a kids book in our future. I can see kids education because it's something that they don't necessarily get taught in school. So, who is going to teach them that? It's us as parents. Where do parents go to learn that? So I can definitely see us, having a kids element, a money element to it as well.
Excellent. Now, obviously you're well experienced. You've been doing this for a long time. What advice would you give your younger self, knowing what you know now?
That's a good question. What advice would I give? So it's been nearly 20 years, I think, since I've started in financial planning, and I've done every role. My advice would be to my younger self, listen to your gut. Go with what you think. Don't worry about what other people are saying. Really, tune in and go with your intuition and what you think, because ultimately you're the one that has to live with it. Definitely. The payment plans was another example. I offered payment plans, people paying stuff off. I got told not to do that because you'll go broke, people won't pay you if you put it over 12 months. So again, I listen to my intuition. So I have listened to it a lot, but there's been a few times I wish I would have listened to it earlier. So I've been in 2 business partnerships that haven't worked out. So I'm none for 2 with business partners. I wish I would have listened to my intuition when I did that, to know if I went back then, I would have said, you don't need a business partner. You can do it without having a business partner. So because it's messy to unwind and all that. So I would tell my younger self, trust your intuition. If something doesn't feel right, don't do it.
No, that's great. That's a great advice. Now you touched on this on the other question about doing like kids books and things like that. My next question to you is for parents out there, like with me and my wife, we have two young kids, 8 and 4. What advice do you have for parents out there who want to teach their kids early about money?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I've got a podcast, a Savings Squad. I think it's episode 4, don't quote me, but we talk a lot about this. So there's a particular app that I like where from the age of 6 you give kids a Visa debit card. So kids from a very young age are learning digital. I think that's a mistake because me and my parents, we grew up with cash. The next generation, in the not too distant future, there actually won't be cash. So I think earlier that you can start having that digital conversation and giving kids Visa debit cards with their own money. So there's a program called Spriggy, and I did a whole podcast episode about that. So where it gives kids Visa debit cards. So teaching them digitally, because one day there won't be cash, but also they spend with digitally. A lot of the stuff that kids buy is online. They buy games, they buy songs and music, and so we have to teach them how to do that online. And be okay with letting your kids make mistakes. So let's make mistakes and run out of money now when they're 6, rather than when they're 18 and it has a few zeros. Bigger mistakes. So
I've seen that before on my iPad.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen a few game purchases.
So give them their own little account, their own little Visa card. This Spriggy does very, very well, giving their own little Visa card from a very young age. And so I'm talking about Visa debit. It's just whatever limit you put on it is what it has. That would definitely be one. The other thing that I say is make money something that you actually talk about. Don't make it a taboo subject. So I think that's really important to talk about money. And maybe even getting them involved. I've seen some clients do this with the budget. So I think, that sort of level of education and talking about money and making it not something that's taboo, I think is super important, as well as being cautious of the language that we use around money. So I look back to my childhood, and I know my mum, they did the best they could. And I definitely learned a lot about money from budgeting and stuff from my mum. But they would often say to me, money doesn't grow on trees. What do you think we are made of money? And I would hear that over and over. And so at a very young age, that told me that money was hard to get. And so that I've done some work to unprogram that in myself, but that told me that money was hard to get. So, which, you have to work hard for money. You do have to, work for money, but who says you have to work super hard? And so I give the example of Richard Branson. Does he work harder than anybody else for the wealth that he has? No, he doesn't. He works smart, doesn't necessarily work harder and longer days. And so I think for me, being very cautious of the language that you use with children around money, because that's going to stick with them, that story. So that would be one example. So money doesn't grow on trees. I would not use that. That's telling them that there's not enough money and money is hard to get. The other thing is, saying we can't afford it. When you use the word can't, there's a bit of your brain that actually shuts down. It stops looking for solutions, it just shuts down. So I would say being very cautious, and rather than we can't, how can we afford it? So, getting kids to be involved in the budget or giving them choices and letting them make decisions.
It's having the right language, because what you tell yourself, what you put in your mind, has big...
it affects your belief, it affects your actions, it affects everything. So absolutely. So being very conscious of what you tell yourself, what you tell yourself, but also what you tell your children as well, because that will stick with them. The other thing, I could keep talking about kids stuff forever. The other thing that I really love is from day one of them getting money. So first, money, birthday money or whatever, getting them to split it 3 ways. So having in a bank account that's for spending, a bank account that's for saving, and a bank account that's for sharing. So getting that split. I think the important thing is to get the child to do the split. Something has to go into each account, but they do the split.
They do it.
Rather than you telling them, you have to save so much. They get $50 for their birthday, $20. A little bit has to go into each one. They can determine the split. And then at the end of the year, you can decide what you want to do with that. So I think that's a very good strategy as well. And again, with Spriggy, you can do that with different bank accounts. So kids can have different bank accounts and they can be split that way. I know some people do it physically. They like to have particular jars. So a spend, save and share jar. They could do it that way as well. But as I said, I think it's really important that we move away from physical and into digital, because that's how our children are going to learn.
No, those are excellent tips. 100%. Very good. Now, if you can share with us, tell us about yourself, Hobbies. Tell us a bit about Adele.
Yeah, Adele. I'm a bit of a boring person because all I like to talk about is business. So I do have a little baby, but I'd much rather, people will say this, much rather talk business than babies any day. So for me, I really love that business side of stuff. I love learning. I love personal development. I spend an extraordinary amount in personal development and education. I love that stuff. So I've always worked with one or two mentors wherever I am. From a very young age, I've always worked with different coaches and mentors. So business, personal development is something that I definitely love and have an interest in. Aside from that, I'm a massive foodie. So my husband owns a restaurant, and so he owns a restaurant in Newcastle, but they also have a food truck, Bow Brothers, and they go all around Australia. So I think I've definitely married the right person because we do love our dinners and stuff out. So I often, when I laugh at clients, I say, I'd much rather spend $200-300 on an amazing meal out than a pair of shoes. And so for me, definitely food, because for me it's an experience. It brings people together. I love a great degustation and sitting down for 6 courses or definitely food is a massive part of for me it's bringing people together. It's experience, and so food is my other hobby.
Excellent. Now with me, I like listening to music, podcasts, and things like that. What about yourself? Do you prefer music or do you prefer?
Well, at the moment, I'm listening to a lot of Wiggles with my Wheels on the Bus is getting on strong repeat. But podcasts, huge podcast fan. So I listen to, but also audible books as well. So I'm a massive fan of Audible and podcasts. So I actually learned last year that I learn best through auditory. Now I wish I would have done that test at school. Would have been helpful to know that writing or visual is not the best for me. Auditory actually is. So my revision was always writing, but I would have been better to actually listen. Didn't know that at the time, but now I do. And definitely podcasts are a way for me, and podcasts and audible books all the time. And for me, I like to pair that with doing another activity. That's what I love about that. I can go for a walk, I can fold the washing, I can do other stuff while I do that. And I love Manifestation Babe as well. So some money, business, mix of happiness, lifestyle. They're my 3 go-tos every week. I listen to those.
Excellent. Okay, now to wrap it up, Adele, can you share with us like a tip or advice that you can share to our viewers out there?
Best tip, money tip, I think, is not to put it off. So I think clients, always say once the kids are at school or after these school holidays or once they turn 30. So those sort of things, you're much better to start something the day before. The second best time is right now. I think people think they have to have money before they, see a financial advisor. And so especially when clients with me, we actually help get them money. And so most of my clients make a return within a couple of months. They've made their money back because we do that cash flow stuff with them. And so for me, it's the biggest tip is not waiting because time goes super quick and all of a sudden it's 6 months turns into 6 years, and then all of a sudden you're at retirement and you're having that regret. And so for me, the best, and it's so much easier when people come to me with $2,000 worth of credit card debt rather than 20, 30, 40 grand. So for me, time.
Don't dig your head
in the sand. Get your head out of the sand. Exactly.
Excellent. That's great. Well, thank you very much, Adele. Thank you. Thanks, guys. If you enjoyed that, definitely reach out to Adele. Definitely follow her on social media. She's got great content on there, and you won't be disappointed. Excellent. Thank you very much, Adele.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.